Welcome to this episode of Get Focused. Love the fact that I am with Jack Skeen, who is a longtime friend and associate of Focus Consulting Group. I think we go back a couple of decades, you and I.
At least, Jim.
At least, yeah. Even though we're so young, we're only in our 40s, but we go back, 2 decades.
I wish.
I wish is right. Uh, and we are here to discuss what I think Jack is a genius at, and that is the topic of genius. So this is something that Focus uses in all of our consulting work, particularly our coaching work. And in my layman's terms, it involves highest and best use. So we're talking to people about where are they really in their highest and best. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jack to talk a little about how he defines genius and why it has been so important in his coaching work.
Well, Jim, all of us, I think, have been under a lot of pressure to make money, be successful, and many of us have done whatever we could do to make that happen, whether it was what was the ideal thing for us to do or the most satisfying thing to do or not. And I think there are a lot of people who get to a point in their career where they just don't feel very fulfilled. They're frustrated. They've been somewhat successful, but they're not that happy. Or they've been very successful and they feel like something's missing. And I would contrast those people with somebody like Warren Buffett, who seemed to have found what he was gifted to do as a young person and then did it till he's like 95 and
Right.
still loves doing it. I just think he's a man who found his genius.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And so when you work with people on their genius, how do you go about finding what that genius is for the individual?
Well, I just imagine your genius has been with you since you were a little person. And like when you think of kids you knew in elementary school, and you think, God, that kid, everybody wanted to be friends with that kid. Or that kid just wanted to play sports all the time. I mean, there was something about kids that differentiated them. And I think there was some inner voice they had that let them know they had something they loved to do and were good at. But over time, we lose track of that voice. So my goal is to unearth that voice, listen to it, amplify it, and then teach people to recognize it in themselves. And my process that I've developed is I use usually a couple of personality tests are like gold standard because they give me a way of knowing how a person's hardwired. Are they an optimistic person, a pessimistic person, a risk-taking person, a risk-averse person? And that's a helpful first cut. The next part is I talked to 6 people who've been attracted to the person because they saw something special, like a life partner. I mean, a life partner could have picked somebody else. Why would they pick you? They saw something magical in you, and I want to know what they saw in you because I think they may have gotten a glimpse of your genius.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I use my gift. I tell people I discovered my gift when I was 35 years old, that I have a way of looking in people's eyes and understanding their soul. And so I spend hours with the person using the information I've gleaned from the other 2 sources to get to know them better than their mother knows them. I tell them for me, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. All the pieces are upside down, and I turn them over and start rearranging them. And all of a sudden, I see, here's the picture, Jim. I got you now. I know who you are and what you're meant to do.
And how, we talk a lot in our work at Focus about ego and ego, or you could say personality. And it's that sort of survival mechanism we develop to get by. Maybe we're a perfectionist or we're a hardworking achiever or something. How do you differentiate someone's genius from their ego, which is more like autopilot? How do you get past that ego?
Well, that can be difficult because my understanding of ego is it really is designed to answer one question, which is how important am I? And it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it answers that question by measuring myself against everybody else. So I,
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to be richer than you. I want to be smarter than you. I want to be more handsome than you. And if
Yep.
if I think I am, I feel good about myself. And I feel
Yep.
like I'm not, I don't feel good about myself. So it gets in the way of often gets in the way of discovering your genius because people are going, uh, I'm kind of good at the game I'm playing. Am I really willing to shift to a different game? And
Right.
and I think that can, people might not even want to know what that game is. Like I tell people, maybe you're not happy doing what you're doing, and I'm going to discover you would be a great third grade teacher. And you go, I don't want to be a third grade teacher. I said, I get that. You keep doing what you're doing, but if you were to teach third grade, you'd love it. You would love it, and you'd be great at it.
Yeah.
So that could be a dilemma for the ego.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And we run into that, we focus on the investment world, and there's a lot of very rich people who have made a name for themselves because they're rich and they run a big portfolio. And yet, in my experience, you can get through. I remember talking to a guy who thought his genius was being a great investor. And the more we explored it, he realized, it's not really about investing. I like building teams and managing teams. And I could do that at Ford Motor or any company. It's not about being an investment guy. And he was quite happy to learn that. It's like a light bulb went off. So tell us some of the stories that you've had working with people about where they got it. They like, oh, that's my genius.
Well, I just got finished doing this for one person, and they're kind of a youngish person, and they're pretty savvy with technology and computer programming. But what I discovered is their real true gift, their genius gift, is they're an optimizer. Like
Mm,
anything they take on, they're thinking, how could this be better? How could this be improved? And they're always finding ways. He actually tracks his time all day long in 15-minute increments to
wow.
optimize his life. I thought, whoa, you do this, you do this in your sleep.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Can I tell you another story?
Please do. Yeah.
So I had a guy from the UK call me, and he is an accountant, and he has his own accounting company, and he's been pretty successful doing that. So I'm listening to his history, and he tells me when he was a kid, he loved doing magic shows, putting on magic shows. I'm not like little things, I mean, whole things for the neighborhood. And as I got into what do you love about magic shows, he told me that there's creating a surprise for people, like having people be delighted with something they could not see on their own. And all of a sudden they see this special thing.
Yeah.
And so I thought, how in the world are you an accountant? Because accountants never surprise people with in that way.
Hopefully not.
No. And so I discovered he had a podcast that he's been doing where he interviews successful business people, and he likes pulling out of them something nobody knows about them to
Ah,
surprise the audience. And I thought that's probably what you ought to really be doing is more of that. You're more of an entertainer than you are an accountant.
yeah. Yeah.
And he has a special gift around this surprise kind of thing that a lot of entertainers don't have.
Yeah. So how have people changed their careers as a result of finding out what their genius is?
Well, for some people, it's not that far, they're not that far off, right? They might be doing something and learn, I'm an optimizer. So what I ought to do is focus on opportunities to optimize no matter what I'm doing, because that's what's going to bring me satisfaction.
Uh-huh.
But if you're the accounting guy, I said, like you don't have to sell your business, but maybe you want to find somebody to manage your business and start investing more of your time and effort in expanding your podcast. Maybe make that a bigger focus of your life and find out if there's a way to actually make a living doing that. Because
Yeah.
there are some people who've had a great career doing that kind of thing. I think it'd be very satisfying for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah. Great stuff. How about if you look at, so there's an optimizer and there's a magician who loves to surprise people. What are some other genius, like core genius qualities that you found that you would describe them? Like Gallup has their strength finders, and I think there's 37 of them or something, and they're like, being an influencer and being this, that, and the other thing. What are some of the words that capture what you found as people's genius?
Well, it's an interesting question because I would think your genius is about as personal as your fingerprint.
I agree. Yes.
And so for everybody, it's a little different. There's a nuance to it that's a little different. This actually started for me when I did an offsite for a guy named Monish Pabrai. This was 25 years ago. And it was a bunch of business people. I'd put together a process for them for a weekend offsite. And the insights I came up with about him, well, he owned an IT company and he was doing quite well, but he hated it. He just hated going to work. And what I discovered was he had no gift as a manager. He just hated managing people and no gift as a CEO, a visionary leader. He really loved playing games and individual games, like if you were like playing tennis, an individual game. And he liked individual games where he could get an edge by being smart.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we talked about how can you use that individual kind of game playing where you have intelligence you could bring to the game. He said, "What about investing? I've been curious about investing." And we talked about how he could do investing. And he actually sold his IT business, became an investor, has done very well, is good friends with Warren Buffett. And he does these videos, and people from all over the world started calling me and say, "Could you do for me what you did for Monish?" Because he tells everybody, you got to go through this process to discover your genius. I was amazed. I was amazed.
Give that man a megaphone and get him out on Times Square.
Uh,
That's great. That's so good. What can people do? I mean, I would recommend anyone listening to this, if this intrigues you, get in touch with Jack. You can find him through us, which is Focus Consulting Group, or you can go directly to Jack Skeen Leadership. If they Google you, they'll find you, right, Jack?
they will. My website's jackskeen.com, so it's very easy.
Yeah. So do that. Short of finding Jack and doing this work on what is your true genius, what can people do on their own to sort of discover, okay, so what Jack was talking about, what is that for me? What can they
Well,
do?
well, I think what I'm looking for is the intersection of a few things. One is, what do I naturally like to do? Like, let's say I just don't like my job, but I come home and I garden all the rest of the time. And I have this beautiful garden. I thought, well, it seems like you're more interested in growing things than you are in doing what you're doing for a living. So pay attention to the things that you just enjoy doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then notice of the things you enjoy doing, what works well. So if you think you can good at growing things, but everything dies, I think you're probably barking up the wrong tree, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
It ought to be if you think you're good at growing things, the things you're growing ought to flourish.
Yeah. Right.
So I think if you pay attention to those things, and then where does success come easily for you? So it's not like you're, exhausting yourself doing what you're doing. You're doing it in a way that it just feels like it's giving you life rather than draining you of life. So if you find the intersection of those things, you'll probably find what your genius is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I should mention to all our listeners that in 2006, High Performing Investment Teams came out, which was helps to date us, Jack, because you were an author of High Performing Investment Teams. And in that book, again, the title's High Performing Investment Teams, available on Amazon. There's a chapter by Jack on genius. And I can tell you that many people who read that book say it's maybe the best chapter in there. They really like what Jack wrote about genius, and that means he's been doing this for at least 20 years because that was 2006. And there's just a lot of value
Mhm.
in this topic. What about people who really land on what their genius is, but they don't know how to make it commercial?
Well, the product I'm doing around Genius, I'm calling a roadmap, and it's a roadmap because I'm going, okay, uh, I want to identify your destination, which is you're using your genius in what you do.
Yeah,
But it's not where you are. You might be in a very different place. What's the road to get there, the path to get there, and how could you transition to that?
yeah,
So I do think that there is some guidance that's often needed. Monish told me that he takes out his roadmap every year and reads it to kind of compare his life to it and help him realign with it. He finds it to be a living document that's so valuable to him.
yeah. Boy, that's great. And tell us again, his core genius was for Manish.
Playing games as individual games where he could get an edge
Okay.
with his intellect. He actually discovered that there was a casino in Vegas that the way they had their games set up, he figured out he could get an edge over the house. And
Oh.
he went there and played for 2 years before they threw him out of there. And he beat the house.
That is so good. It kind of confirms what I think about people like that who have an ability to make money, and that is there aren't that many of them. That there are people
Right.
like him who have that gift, and then there's a whole lot of investment professionals who are running money who they're smart and whatnot, but I don't think they have that gift.
Right. It's a very special gift, isn't it, Jim?
It is. It's like a nose for money. They know how to sniff out where the money is and figure it out and play the game and win. Um, and those people are super valuable because there's a lot to be, won if you have that gift.
I tell them it's like having the gift of spinning straw into gold. What a
Yeah.
great gift to
Yeah. Yeah.
have.
Right. Right. For some reason, it reminds me of this. Zen master was asked, if someone said I have the chance to be enlightened or get $1 million, what would you tell me to do? And the Zen master said, get the $1 million.
Oh, that's a great one.
It's apparently a true story. It's like, go get the million. We'll worry about enlightenment later.
That's funny.
Yeah. In the few minutes we have left, anything you want to add about genius, or anything at all before we close off, Jack?
Well, I think the thing I would want people to focus on is do they feel satisfied doing what they're doing, or do they feel like something's missing, or feel frustrated in some way? I think it's really a shame when people have that feeling and live that way in their career.
Yes.
I'm reminded of Steve Jobs' story that when he was in college, his favorite course was calligraphy. So interesting to me that somebody's favorite course in college could be calligraphy. And
Yeah.
it was so important to him that he quit school when he couldn't take any more calligraphy classes, and he came back and paid himself to take calligraphy.
That's amazing.
But calligraphy spoke to his eye for design. And it was
Yeah.
that eye for design that shaped Apple into what Apple is.
Yep.
So it was amazing that he knew that in some intuitive way when he was in college and then doubled down on that very unique gift to create such an amazing commercial success. I think everybody's got something like that in them. And I would
Yeah.
just hope everybody would find that.
Yeah. Yeah. That speaks to me, Jack. I hear that and I resonate, and that's part of what I think we're trying to do at Focus is help people align with what really gives them joy.
Me
And
too.
and from working with us, Jack, that there's 10 of us now at Focus. We never ask any consultant to go do a piece of work they don't care about.
Right.
It's
Right.
always, do you have passion? Are you
Yep.
excited about this assignment and these people and what the future holds for them? It's never, well, suck it up and go do this.
No, you've always been very committed to that, Jim.
Yeah, yeah, and it's very selfish in the sense that I don't want to do a bunch of stuff that I don't like, so I don't want to
Yep.
put that out there in the water that, all of us have to suck it up and do stuff we don't care about.
Yes.
Um, Jack, it's always a delight to be with you. And again, I say to all our listeners, um, this topic resonates with our clients, resonates with all the people we work with. So if it intrigues you, jackskeen.com, or come to us and we'll help you get to Jack. And if not, read his chapter in High Performing Investment Teams on Genius. And thanks, Jack, for spending time with us.
Thank you, Jim, very much.